Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mike. You guys are rocking with me on Mike's Intellectual Corner. In today's episode, we're diving back into some curse. This is, are there lost alien civilizations in our past? And without further ado, we're just going to dive right into it. So let's roll.
When we think about alien civilizations, we tend to look into the vastness of space, to faraway planets. But there is another incredibly vast dimension that we might be giving too little thought to: time. Could it be that over the last hundreds of millions of years, other civilizations existed on Earth? Indigenous technological species that rose and died out, and that they
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of different theories out there that have, like, especially if you freaking watch History Channel, you watch ancient civilizations and stuff like, or ancient aliens and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of theories and stuff that, what I'm saying, maybe they rose and, that maybe those ancient civilizations or, ancient mega powers or whatever could have been like we saw them as gods and stuff like that. And that's why we interpret them, our ancient ancestors interpret them as gods and stuff like that. But personally, I think it's kind of goofy. Well, mainly that show. That show's really goofy. But let's keep going.
that rose and died out, and that they or their artifacts are buried beneath our feet. What does science have to say about this, and what are the implications for us? Life on Earth has existed for 4 billion years, mostly as single-celled organisms until some 540 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion heralded the age of animals. A huge time window for our indigenous aliens. Where would we look for them, and what could we hope to find?
Yeah, because I mean, if you gotta think about it, 4 billion years. That's pretty big. Like I feel like a lot of people's minds probably can't really comprehend like that, seeing that number on like years, a year scale. Like that's, what I'm saying. You gotta think that's like four 999 millions, or 999 million times four plus 4 million. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous how many years that is. So it is kind of, it would be kind of easy for something to rise up and then kind of just dissipate, out of nothing, if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? But let's see.
And what could we hope to find? Sadly, we have only one civilization to look at: ourselves. Anatomically modern humans emerged around 300,000 years ago and probably lived in small groups of hunter-gatherers, slowly spreading around the world. Progress was slow and our lifestyle didn't change much, although there may have been local bursts of complexity. Until about 10,000 years ago, when the agricultural revolution changed our lifestyle forever, enabling massive population growth and technological progress.
So really, what I'm saying, the main super factor for us was just the wanting to live in bigger groups. You know what I'm saying? Because wanting to live in bigger groups, eventually, I'm sure, obviously they had to get make for bigger crops and more food for everybody. They had to, I'm saying, form ways to communicate with each other, ways to go around, transport things and I'm saying, get from one place to the other. They had to find ways to do these things for a big, huge group. And obviously, these are a lot of those things you don't really have to do, other than the communication thing, really. You don't really have to do for small groups, which is why I think, obviously, we were stuck in that small hunter mindset for like essentially 99.9% of our existence. So let's keep going.
Rather than just animals with culture and tools that would have been invisible from space, we changed the face of the planet, cleared forests and constructed cities and temples for our gods at breathtaking speeds and scales. Until about 300 years ago, we became an industrial species, and yet again our numbers grew exponentially, as did our impact on the planet. We could say that our 300,000-year-long history has three phases. We were hunter-gatherers for 97%, farmers for 2.9%, and industrialists for 0.1% of our history. And yet, we are super new on Earth. On geological timescales, even the sturdiest things lose their durability. The oldest large-scale surface is the Negev Desert, a meager 1.8 million years old. Everything older has been crushed to dust or turned over, and it's either below the ground or covered.
Yeah, I mean, a mere 1.8 million years old. Because if you really think about a geological scale, that's really nothing. That's literally what I mean, exactly what he just said. Life has been on this earth for over 4 billion years, and the oldest thing that's on on the top side of the earth that hasn't been crushed by rocks and everything, sediment and everything else is only 1.8 million years old. So there's so much of Earth's history that's just stuck under rocks and rocks and rocks, and half of it is only gonna be like this thick. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy to think about. Try imagine finding a whole civilization in this thick of rock. You know, it's crazy to think about that.
Covered by ice or ocean. Our age, the Anthropocene, will be a layer only a few centimeters thick in a few million years. If there were aliens before us and they too went through these three phases, what would remain of them? What can we learn about indigenous aliens by looking at ourselves? Hunter-gatherer aliens. We actually know that in the last few million years there were hunter-gatherer aliens. Our ancestors like Homo erectus and cousins like the Neanderthals or Denisovans, and probably many more that we haven't found yet or are lost to time forever. They left fragments of their bodies, of weapons and tools, and even art. Considering how long they existed and how little remains of them, although they lived not that far from our present, it's easy to think they're...
Yeah, and isn't it insane to think that us as Homo sapiens, and you know what I'm saying, we're essentially the only, or us as just I guess humans, because I mean you can say monkeys and all that crap, but you know what I'm saying, us as humans, we're the only you know what I'm saying species of, like us, or you know what I'm saying, like there's no Neanderthals, there's no Homo epithecus, no Homo erectus, none of these. There's just you know what I'm saying, us, and it's just kind of crazy to think about that we're the only, like every other species on Earth has like a very close cousin that would resemble a Neanderthal or a Homo, all that. It's just just crazy to think about. One of those think about it late at night type of thing.
That far from our present, it's easy to think there have been others. Intelligent animals like us that could talk and use tools and fire, that had culture and art. For the last 2 million years, most hominins lived as hunter-gatherers. So if these aliens never moved up higher on the tech tree, hundreds of different species and cultures could have existed without leaving any traces. Their artifacts lost to biological and then geological processes. At worst, they would leave absolutely nothing to be found after thousands of years. But what about fossils? We talked about how unlikely the process of fossilization is in more detail in our dinosaur video. But in a nutshell, per 100,000 years of Earth's history, we only get a handful of good fossils.
Yeah, see, and to me, that's like the craziest thing, like right there, is just, when you really think about it, and again, this is just one of those, staying late at night, maybe, you might be smoking or something, you might be thinking to yourself, it's kind of crazy to think, there are probably over 99% of the creatures who have ever lived on this earth. I mean, obviously you got to think 4 billion years worth of creatures. At least half of them, if not more than half of them, have been without bones. You got to think of all the insects, all that stuff. Have been without bones, have been without all that stuff to leave a mark on this earth to this day. And even if they did, those bones would have to solidify. You know what I'm saying? Not all bones are going to solidify. Some just, will ground out and be returned to the earth. So there's so many different creatures that we don't know about. And it's true, like some of them could have been just like us, but maybe, not on the scale of thinking, of building like super huge mega structures, but they're, they're like, they're like living in villages, and they created mud huts and stuff that obviously wouldn't survive to this day. And we will never know. It's kind of crazy to think about that. Like, what would they look like? All that stuff. But let's keep going.
So we might easily just miss fossils of such people, but even if we had any, we wouldn't necessarily be able to identify them as hunter-gatherers. Agricultural and empire aliens. Looking at humans again, agricultural societies left much more to be dug up and found because they used more sophisticated tools made from sturdier materials and had to feed millions, leaving many more artifacts. Farming allowed them to specialize and develop tech from writing to navigation, architecture, and government. Over thousands of years, city-states became kingdoms and empires, some existing for millennia before they fell. Many of the buildings or monuments they constructed are still around, and traces of them will exist for a few thousand more years. Some only as outlines in the ground, but still recognizable to future
And
archaeologists.
see, all of that you don't with obviously with hunter gatherers, you don't need any of that for hunter gathering, but you do need all that for when if you have massive amounts of people living in together. You need massive infrastructures. You need a way to actually communicate through writing and numbers and stuff like that, to count and all that. You need ways to transport through boats and learning how to tame horses and stuff like that. You need a way to entertain the masses so that they don't get unruly and revolt and stuff like that. It's just kind of just things, I guess. But let's keep going.
In the ground, but still recognizable to future archaeologists. The pyramids are piles of limestone so massive that they will probably be around for hundreds of thousands of years. And because of the greater numbers of humans that lived during our farm and empire period, we can expect way more fossils and artifacts to be detectable, maybe for a few million years before they vanish. So we can say with confidence that no such indigenous alien civilization existed in the last few million years, because otherwise we would.
And isn't that crazy? Like a civilization that one of our first civilizations to that we know of, and it's crazy. Like we have to even say that, like, because we don't even know if there's like thousands of civilizations that lived before the Egyptians, but we don't know about them because they didn't leave anything as significant as pyramids made of giant pyramids that were perfectly aligned on each other, made of limestone. You know what I'm saying? Maybe all they did was leave or live in mud huts, or maybe wood or something like that, and they left. It's just kind of crazy thing about that.
Last few billion years, because otherwise we would have found something that they left. This still leaves a window of hundreds of millions of years, back to the emergence of complex life, where we wouldn't be able to tell. If there were alien pre-industrial societies and empires on the level of the ancient Romans or Chinese, they would have likely disappeared without a trace. Their tools, even advanced metals, would have rotted away. If they dug up canals, cleared forests, and built cities.
Yeah, because you gotta think about it. I think what is it? I think the strongest things that we have today are either plastic or stainless steel, and both of those would break down after maybe. I think the largest extent would be 100 million years. So what's 100 million years to 3-4 billion? You know what I'm saying? You gotta remember that's 999 million. So it's just it's like so many actual. If you think about it, actual like us. Now that I think about it, civilizations like us could have been here and we don't know about it. And what's crazy too? There's actually stuff that could be explanations for it. Because I don't know if you guys ever heard about it's like the British hammer or something like that. It's a hammer that was found that's older than like the pyramids. It's older than like anything that's ever been found ever. But it's a hammer, and it's made out of iron and wood, and like, so it's like one of those things where it's like, how could it be, here, but it's older than what, anything, any tool, any of that, by thousands of years. That's crazy to think about. So that could be an explanation for that, but let's keep going.
Tools, even advanced metals, would have rotted away. If they dug up canals, cleared forests, and built cities, their traces would be very hard to distinguish from nature. Maybe there was once an empire of cephalopods occupying impressive cities in swamps and lakes made from wood and stone. Their engineers flooding land to build wet cities, their poets reciting poems in a language of colors. Maybe they never industrialized. Maybe their society was too stable or not inventive enough, or they never got a chance. A single event like an asteroid, an epidemic, or an ice age could just have deleted their civilization, ground up their temples as their soft bodies rotted away.
And see, and lucky for us, the one thing that we get to say that we left here that will most likely never go away, which would be the stuff that we left on the moon, and the stuff that most likely will be left on the moon and Mars and stuff as we go on. Because obviously, you got Elon Musk trying to go to Mars by the end of this decade. So you know what I'm saying. So luckily for us, we do get stuff left on Mars could be easily actually disintegrated by time, by that Mother Nature over there. But the things on the moon, since the moon has no atmosphere, that should be actually be okay. But it's just things like that to think about. At least us as a civilization, we will have things that will live way past. Even essentially all the way up until the end of the sun. So at least we have that. So.
Sadly, we don't have the tiniest amount of evidence for any such civilization. After a few million years at best, their achievements would have dissolved into nothing. Industrial indigenous aliens. What about industrial civilizations like humanity today? Imagine humans died out suddenly through a pandemic or cosmic rays or something like that. What would remain? Our impact on the planet is orders of magnitude greater than that of our ancestors. The fossil record will show a great extinction of wildlife and an explosion of fossils from human-associated animals like rats, cows, pigs, and chickens.
Yeah, and especially, and I know, again, if you've seen the History Channel, I know a while ago, like back in 2010, 2009, they had this really long special, which I really liked. But it was pretty much what would happen if all humans on Earth just suddenly disappeared. And essentially, it showed everything happening. Obviously, all the nuclear plants going off, all the trains derailing, all that stuff that you don't really think about whenever you see like apocalyptic movie that they don't really show you or something like a zombie movie or stuff. But it always at the end it said pretty much no matter what, except for the stuff that we left on the moon, the Earth will always reclaim everything no matter what. It it doesn't matter how long it takes. It takes 10,000 years, 50,000 years, 100,000 years, 100 million years. It doesn't matter. It will eventually reclaim. And eventually it will be like we never existed. So it is, it is definitely possible for that to happen, but it's just kind of creepy to think that, with all of our achievements, in a blink of an eye, Mother Nature can wipe it all out. Not in a blink of an eye, but I mean in the sense of a cosmic blink of an eye, yeah. So.
Like the structures of our ancestors, skyscrapers and streets and hard drives will basically crumble into nothingness in a few millennia. But because there were so many humans everywhere, for a few million years after our sudden end, there would be clear hints of our existence. The byproducts of our industrial lifestyle might actually give us away for some hundreds of millions of years. We use massive amounts of artificial fertilizer which redirects Earth's flow of nitrogen that is being deposited in the soil. Mining metals and rare earth elements leaves long-term scars and depletes natural resources. We saturate our oceans with plastics that find their way to the ocean floor and may persist for hundreds of millions of years. There are radioactive elements and their decay, unnatural accumulations of elements that don't exist outside labs or weapons. And of course, in our short industrial...
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like, even after all this stuff, the Earth can still reclaim what it is. It's just, we have to, we have to eventually stop at a certain point because, there is a tipping point, as so to speak, but nobody really knows where that is.
In our short industrial history, we have changed the proportion of CO2 in the air by burning massive amounts of fossil fuels, increasing the acidity of the oceans, and so on. We may already have left a mark in the geological record. So far, we have found no traces of an industrial alien civilization. No layers of weird chemicals or displaced elements. No radioactive layer to indicate that once great nations waged nuclear war. We do see mass extinctions and massive shifts in the fossil records.
Yeah, and again, all that means, though, is that there was never a civilization on our level as far as that we can see. Maybe, because you never know. Obviously we haven't gone, as far as the rock sediment, can really, truly tell.
But no evidence that they did not occur naturally. And, ironically, we've hit upon an interesting problem here. If industrial societies stress the ecosystem enough to cause their own extinction, they won't be around that long. But if they become sustainable, their imprint on the geological record may be tiny. If past industrial civilizations were sustainable before they died out, we may have little to no chance of ever knowing about them. In any case, over hundreds of millions of years, these signatures may become very subtle and get over.
Yeah, and I mean, from our own historical experience, especially for the fact that for over 90% of our own existence, we were, I'm saying, hunter gatherers, it's probably more likely, especially if they didn't have that long to live, and maybe something did happen, like a meteor hit, some obviously something that happened that we don't like, that got is now covered up by years of sediment and all that other stuff and erosion. You just never know if there's been multiple civilizations that were maybe like hunter gatherer, village, tribal type of things like that. And it's pretty crazy to think about, but yeah. And it's even more crazy to think about, like what did their world look like? Because obviously they didn't have the same continents as we did. Because what I'm saying, they lived in a world before Pangea. What I'm saying, it's just kind of crazy to think about like that. But
And get overlooked or interpreted as natural. Even if an industrialized alien society existed 200 million years ago and lasted for 100,000 years, 300 times longer than industrial humanity, it still might be easy to miss it in the geological record. In any case, all of this is speculation. In the end, we shouldn't use our imagination to trick ourselves into thinking we know anything about our blind spots. Just assuming a thing happened because we don't have evidence against it is a trap we should
yeah,
avoid.
that's the exact same trap that all of our friends over there on History Channel. Ancient aliens are stuck in the fact that I mean, if you literally listen to these guys, it is the most insane things that they come up with. What I'm saying? Just in their thinking, and they'll look in the camera with such conviction too. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and look what's on, what I'm saying, channel 3 or 4. It's just one of those things. But.
So, for now, if we look at the vastness of time, it seems as devoid of aliens as the vastness of space. Maybe we are alone in this universe and always were. Maybe we'll find traces of others eventually, we don't know. But there is one important takeaway. The continuation of our civilization is not guaranteed, and if we're not careful, we may disappear forever. Let's hope that in a few million years, there isn't another civilization studying our layer in the fossil record. It's frustrating to know there are so many things in our past we can't access.
All right, guys, I'll go ahead and end it right there. So yeah, it's just one of those really really eerie things to me to just think about, like, what I'm saying, like how many different civilizations were here before us, because 4 billion years is a really long time, and all we really have to go on is studying the rock sediments, and they're only like this big. So it's just crazy thing about it. It's one of those things that will keep you up all night. But in any case, though, thank you guys again for joining me on another episode of Mike's Intellectual Corner. If you guys like the episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys when I see you. I'm out.